Okay, there we go. We have a quorum, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we're good. Okay. I would like to call to order the November 18, 2025 meeting of the West Palm Beach Planning Board. Madam Clerk, if you please call the roll.
Jean Marseille Jr.
Present.
Patrick Mayfield.
Present.
Stephen Mayans.
Present.
Peter Pivko.
Present.
Deborah Rain.
Present.
Let the record reflect that Will Corrente, Daniel Kushakshin, and Sam Fish are not present.
All right. Next order of business is approval of the October 21, 2025 minutes. Has everyone had the opportunity to review them? Any changes or corrections? And if not, I'm looking for a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is a report of the planning staff. Ms. Van.
Very
evening.
colorful outfit.
I know.
Angela Van, Assistant Development Services Director. There's no report today. I had a little issue with my computer, so I wasn't able to get some information I needed to give a report. So other than that, I think we need to elect officers.
Yeah, we have that on.
Yeah, at the end of the meeting.
Business at the end.
Thank you.
We'll do so. Any questions of Ms. Van for that excellent report? All right. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda are remarks for the chairperson, of which I have none. That then brings us to the declaration of ex parte communications. And let me begin by saying, with respect to all matters being heard this evening, I have had no ex parte communications. I've received no written communications. I have conducted no investigations, made no site visits, received no expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record. Let's start on this end, Jean.
As to all matters on the agenda, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
With respect to all of tonight's agenda items, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
With regards to all items in tonight's agenda, I have not had any ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation, nor have I made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Deborah.
As to all matters on the agenda, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. And I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
All right, thank you. That then brings us to the swearing in of speakers. Would everyone who plans to speak or offer testimony this evening please stand up and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding will be truthful? All right, you may be seated. Next on the agenda are continued cases, of which there are none. That then brings us to Planning Board case number 2024. This is a city-initiated request. May we hear from you, Alex?
Good evening. For the record, Alex Hansen. I'm the city's comprehensive planner with the city's planning division. The item in front of the board tonight is Planning Board case 2024, which is the updates to the city's water supply plan and the capital improvement program. This is a city-initiated request for proposed amendments to both the utilities element as well as the capital improvement element of the comprehensive plan, in which we are updating the city's 20-year water supply plan, as well as some other sections of the utilities and capital improvements element, and as is required by Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes. In addition, we're also amending or updating the city's capital improvement program, which is contained within the capital improvements element, and this is also in order to be consistent or compliant with state requirements. A little bit of background, Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes requires the city to revise the 20-year water supply plan within its comprehensive plan no later than 18 months after the Water Management District approves a regional water supply plan or its update. The South Florida Water Management District adopted its most recent update to the Lower East Coast water supply plan on September 24th of 2024. Therefore, the city is required to update the work plan no later than late March of 2026. There are several reasons why the Florida statutes require local governments to update their water supply plans, ensure adequate water supply for current and future residents, strengthen our position to compete for funding assistance, plan for alternative sources that take time to develop and finance, as well as ensure that the local needs are considered by the regional water suppliers and the South Florida Water Management District. In summary, the city is proposing the following revisions to the utilities element and the work plan. First, we are updating the level of service for water supply. This will reflect a revision on the current rate from 272 gallons per capita per day to 140 gallons per capita per day. The reason for this change is that the city has been quite successful in its water conservation efforts, so water demand has been going down on a per capita basis, and this is reflected in this change for the level of service. Also, we're going to be updating our population estimates and projections to reflect the most recent available data. For the next 20 years, the forecast is that the population in our service area will increase approximately 16%. I want to explain that the city's water supply area or water service area includes most of the city boundaries. However, some sections on the western part of West Palm Beach are not covered by City West Palm Beach water. They're either covered by the county or by Riviera Beach. On the other hand, the city does provide water to both the town of Palm Beach as well as the town of South Palm Beach. So those are the limits of the city's water service area. In addition, we're also updating some technical specifications that deal with clear lake withdrawal facilities. This is to address only those facilities that withdraw water for treatment. We're also updating some sections of the alternative water supply component of the water supply plan. This is to reflect the addition of the Floridian aquifer, and this is not a typo, as an alternate water supply, and revisions to the aquifer storage and recovery system permit. We're also revising some dates throughout the document. This is so that the document is consistent with the 2024 water supply plan developed by the South Florida Water Management District. We're also updating our capital improvement projects. So we're including a new table that includes all the different projects that are active and planned for the next 5, 10, 15, and 20 years. Further, we are updating the section that deals with the city's water conservation efforts. This is to include some alternative water supply projects and reuse components of the plan. We're also updating the planning time frame to reflect the 20-year planning horizon of the plan. The previous plan that we have, or the current plan that is being now revised, is a 10-year water supply plan. The reason why we're going from a 10-year to a 20-year supply plan is because of new state requirements that indicate that in the comprehensive plan, the planning horizon needs to be 20 years instead of 10. Finally, we are making some changes to reflect new conditions, practices, and policies dealing with water. And final is we're amending a section dealing with water treatment plan process to better reflect current practices. In addition to all the changes that I just mentioned that are incorporated in the utilities element of the comprehensive plan, we're also changing policy 134 of the capital improvement element of the comprehensive plan. This is to also update the water level of service and make it consistent with the new figure that I just referenced at the beginning of my presentation. The final component that is in front of the Planning Board tonight is the amendment to update the Capital Improvement Program, or CIP. This is included as an attachment to the capital improvement element, and Chapter 163 of the Florida Statutes requires the local governments to review their 5-year capital improvement schedules on an annual basis. So we are updating the CIP that is currently in the comp plan to the most recent version. As far as next steps, after Planning Board, these proposed amendments will go in front of the City Commission in early January. Because these are amendments to the comprehensive plan, after the first reading, we are required to submit the proposed changes to the state and different review agencies for their review. We foresee that the main agency that is going to be reviewing this is the South Florida Water Management District. And then we expect to be back in front of the City Commission for the second reading or adoption hearing in early March. So in order to comply with the late March deadline that is imposed in the Florida statutes. Staff is recommending approval of Planning Board Case 2024 based upon the findings that the proposed amendment complies with the requirements of Chapter 163 of the statutes, as well as other appropriate statutory requirements and with other elements of the city's comprehensive plan. In the audience, we have tonight Victor Carosi, who's the director of the city's utilities department, Daryl Graziani, who's the assistant director of the utilities department, as well as Vladimir Janot, who's the city's capital improvement manager. They are here in case you have any technical questions that I cannot address. Again, staff is recommending approval of this case, but I have the different motions related to
Any
this
questions of staff? Let me start first with Deborah. Anything?
I guess maybe a little bit of clarification where you said that with the reduction for the amount of water that's requested, it had gone down. And I would
Yeah, the
think
level of
that-
service, which has gone down from 272 gallons per capita per day to 240 gallons per capita per day. And so this is basically the allocation that we receive, but this is because the city's consumption rates have gone down significantly over the last few years on a per capita basis.
Okay.
And we think that this is a reflection of the city's success in its water conservation efforts.
No, everybody's drinking beer.
Or bottled water.
Did you have a question, Peter? Go ahead.
Alex, I have a puzzling statement under goal number 2. It says, the city shall encourage compact growth in the western areas of the city and provide adequate stormwater management systems without depleting the source of irrigation and recharge water. Where does the capacity of the road systems come in? Because the western communities are now horrible when it comes to traffic. So how can you be encouraging growth in an area that can't keep up with traffic?
Just to be clear, this is not something that is subject of this change.
You're a planner.
No, I understand, but we have a number of provisions that are kind of targeting the growth in different sections of the city. We also have different levels of service, not only for water, which is what we're discussing today, but for roadways and other infrastructure. Most of the growth that the city has experienced over the last few years actually has been in the eastern portion of the city. Right. Yeah. Downtown, as well as mostly in the northern and southern end of the city. So we're not growing that much out west. We have a mobility plan, actually, a citywide mobility plan that we have a consultant currently working on. We expect that this plan will be presented in front of the City Commission sometime either December, more likely January. And again, we're trying to diversify the city's mobility and transportation options. As you are probably aware, there's a lot of the more regional transportation options are not something that the city controls. There are, I'm talking PAMTran, I'm talking Tri-Rail, Brightline, but again, we're trying to increase as well as diversify the city's mobility options.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff? Go ahead.
I was just curious on the level of service analysis. That's interesting that it has gone down. How is that actually calculated?
I may ask Darrell to.
Gotcha.
Please state your name for the record.
Okay. Good evening, Darrell Graziani, Assistant Utility Director here in City of West Palm Beach. The level of service is determined by what we need, not what we want. And when we go to the Water Management District, we just, in September 23, we submitted an application. July 24, they gave us a permit. They've reestablished our allocation. So right now, we're averaging about 225 gallons per day per person. So when we asked for 272, they said no. That's what we went in with. Let's stick where we are. Because the data and the conservation plan is showing those numbers coming down. And basically, that number is divided by the population estimates that we've had for the previous 10 years, and really it's most current. And they look at, you take that number there, the population, which is, the per person, and we take the amount of water that we push out of the water plant on an average day for each year, and we look at the population for that year. We come up with a whole list of what we call per capita rates. And they look at it and they say, okay, this is what we're going to give you. And we had argued with them. Their original proposal to us was less than what we're at right now at 225. They were trying to push us to 220.
Well, what do you attribute to the success? What kinds of things have you guys been doing that?
I'd say we had a better consultant on the first round 20 years ago who got to 272.
No, I was thinking of your success with regard to bringing
in terms of use.
A lot of it is what we're building downtown, I believe. If you're not building a big yard with a big grass, and that irrigation kills me every night at the water plant. Okay. We average about 30 million a day, but at night, between the hours of like 2 and 4, we're pumping out about 70 million sometimes.
Wow.
So that's not, it averages out back down to 30, but that nightly demand kills us on the irrigation.
Yeah.
So that's where that number comes from. It's basically the Water Management District is willing to give us what we need, not what we want.
Gotcha.
So,
okay. Any other
makes
questions?
sense?
I'm expecting that the state is incentivizing us to use less and less. Is that
right.
the way I'm reading?
Well, that's the Water Conservation Plan, and with that application for the Floridan, that was a big issue. It delayed issuance of that permit probably about a month or two, going back and forth with the district on all the programs. And I put a book together of everything we did for him. And in the end, all he wants to know is, well, how many gallons did you save a year? So I'm like, well, I could give you that number if you want me to try. Toilet voucher programs, rain barrels, all that adds up.
Yeah.
So, and the irrigation, and the big one, believe it or not, is that rate structure that we have. Whereas the more you use, the more you pay. There's different structures there. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Before we take it back to the board, I need to point out the record that Will Caranti joined us shortly after the presentation began. You probably need to make your ex parte declarations and disclosures for the record.
Sure. Somebody was parked in my reserved spot. Very inconvenient to find parking tonight. As to all matters on the agenda, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Thank you so much. Would anyone from the public wish to be heard on this? Okay, and if not, then we'll bring it back to the board. Any concerns, any questions?
None.
And if
Seems
not,
more procedural than anything.
So we're looking for a motion for approval then. And it's on the screen for whoever wants to make the motion.
No. Is it? Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
it's also here.
I move that the planning board recommend to the city commission approval for WPB 25-PB Case 2024 Water Supply Plan and Capital Improvement Program CIP updates. This motion is based upon the factual testimony presented, the staff report, and the findings that the proposed amendment complies with the requirements of Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes, other appropriate state requirements, and with other elements of the city's comprehensive plan.
Okay, we have a motion. Have we a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen.
A watered-down document.
All right, that then brings us to planning board case number 554D. May we hear from the applicant?
Good evening, chairmans and members of the board. For the record, Roger Ramsden with the Office of Schutz and Bowen, here on behalf of the applicant. Before you tonight is a request for a rezoning for the property located at 1100 Banyan Boulevard. The site is located just at the intersection of Australian Avenue and Banyan, as shown by this slide. And again, the request is for a rezoning from the commercial plan development, the CPD, to the Clear Lake District L25, which is CLD 25, and the site is 4.73 acres in size. As far as it relates to the existing development, the site is currently developed with about 73,000 square feet of television broadcasting studio. It is approved as a CPD, and that allows for a maximum of 80,000 square feet on the site. And a little background on this as well. PD's limits, the regulations are established in plan developments as part of a resolution that's approved as part of the site plan. One can always come back and get an amendment to the plan development to increase square footage, et cetera, but that's not the case here. As it relates to the existing zoning, as I stated before, this is an existing CPD, and per the comp plan, CPDs are obsolete. The intent is to basically get rid of any CPDs within the downtown area. You can't expand on them, you can't do very much with them. Also inconsistent with the ZLDR's similar situation, whereby the PD is antiquated, and you're very limited on what you can do as opposed to what you can do by straight zoning districts. So our request tonight is for a rezoning from the CPD to the CLD 25. And a couple of the changes that have occurred throughout the area is the redevelopment efforts around the adjacent properties. Specifically, the Vanderbilt campus is being brought up and proposed for redevelopment on those sites. Cleveland Clinic Hospital to the south, Lumiere Residences is being developed, and also the Berkeley Residences. So our request is orderly and logical for the site. With that, we do have to demonstrate compliance with section 9432A, which is the amendments for rezoning. We believe we comply with all the standards. Staff does concur. And on November 12th, we had our meeting before the DAC, the Downtown Action Committee, and it was a unanimous approval, recommendation for approval. Staff is also recommending approval. Now, staff does have one condition of approval, which is that we provide the staff, the traffic division, with a traffic analysis for the build out of the site. And we are going to work with staff on that prior to scheduling for City Commission. We're working on that currently. And with that, we do respectfully request your recommendation of approval on this rezoning. Happy to answer any questions that you may have as it relates.
Questions of the applicant? I know it's not technically part of this, but is there an anticipated plan for this property?
As of right now, there is not, and I failed to mention that as part of one of my slides. At the bottom, it says no changes to development are proposed at this time. I did miss that, I apologize.
That's right, I was curious. Go ahead, Pat, you had a question?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just assuming this change would allow for the site to be developed, similar to the way everything else to the south has been redeveloping in the last year or so.
Yeah, it can be redeveloped under the PD regulations, but you would have to go through the entire public hearing process and do a major PD amendment, which has to go through multiple public hearings, whereby with the CLD 25, which is a more current zoning district, in compliance with the comp plan, in compliance with the CLDRs, there are proposals that does not have to go through the public hearing process. Also opens up the doors for a little bit more flexibility as it relates to the site design.
Okay, other questions of the applicant?
Simple.
All right, thank you so much. May we hear from staff?
Good evening, Claudio Abel, City Urban Designer. I'm going to try not to repeat information for you, so I'm just going to go straight to a little bit of background. As he mentioned, this plan development was actually created prior to the DMP regulations. So we do have some plan developments in the downtown boundary, but they do not comply with the zoning regulations because they were, again, created before those regulations. He already mentioned what we have on site. And the city has left the property owner the option to abandoning these planned developments or to keep them as planned developments. This site in particular, as it is within the boundary of the downtown, the city has already made the determination that should fit into the Clear Lake District and comply with all those regulations if it was abandoned, the planned development. This rezoning on this abandonment is consistent with the comprehensive plan, DMP element, particularly with the policy 3.1.4, where we can see if a plan development is abandoned, the properties included within the plan development will be deemed to have the FAR, the building heights, and the zoning for the district in which the properties are located, which for this particular one will be the Clear Lake District 25. I think you also mentioned this too, that usually when you have a rezoning application, you have a site plan included in this. At this time, the property owner has not come forward with any particular proposal. The different departments, basically what they review was information related to the maximum development capacity that the new zoning designation could have. And that is also part of the condition that we are having here, which relates to the traffic information that is needed, which is prior to scheduling the commission hearing, the applicant, owner, or designee of this particular property shall submit and receive approval of the city traffic engineer the required traffic study consistent with the zoning and land development regulations per section 94-311. And of course, any future development that comes through will go through the process of site plan approval, any hearings that it may need to, and complying with all the regulations of the zoning code. We have reviewed it against the standards of section 9432, and staff does recommend approval with the condition that I mentioned for the planning board case number 554D, and mentioned also too, this was presented to DAC and was approved, and hopefully we will bring this to the City Commission in January of next year. Let me know if you have questions.
Any questions of staff?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Forgive me, but what is CLD 25? What does it allow?
Yes. So the Clearwell District is basically in that area. The 25 is the sub-district, Clear Lake District 25. So it has the regulations of having a FAR of 7 and a maximum height of 25 stories.
And is it primarily, because I know you have the edge condo, but then you have mostly office buildings
use,
next to it?
So yes, it's mixed use, so different uses are allowed in that district.
So it could do
they can do office, they can do multifamily, they can do
either or
a mix of them, yes.
Okay, thanks.
And the city considers this a positive development, like you said, they would, if they had abandoned this.
Yeah, yes. We want consistency in the downtown when it relates to planned developments, right? So we also want some sort of same experience in a neighborhood, right? Not something that looks a little bit odd that doesn't fit into the context.
Fair enough. Any other questions of staff?
Now, way back when, that, the area behind the edge along where the bus terminal was, right? That
Yes.
was supposed to be like a transit-oriented development.
Yes.
I don't know if that is still the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is part
So-
of the transit-oriented district.
I
And we
gotcha.
do have a site plan approval for a proposed development that basically includes the redesign of the actual station a little bit, parking, also residential and retail, I believe.
okay.
Yeah.
So the change will fit in the longer-term vision for that area?
Yes, again, it will be basically moving from a planned development to the zoning designation that is already part of the downtown.
Take it easy there.
All right.
I know you got bingo tonight.
I'm obliged, thank you so much. Any other questions of staff? I'm obliged to ask this question. I feel foolish asking it. Would anyone from the public wish to be heard on this?
All those people lined up.
All right, so if they all sit down, get the timer going, you know, get both podiums going. All right, thank you so much. All right, we'll bring it back to the board. Any concerns about this? No. All right, looking for a motion for approval then.
I move that the planning board recommend to the city commission approval a planning board case 554D, a request by Harvey Oyer of Schutz and Bowen on behalf of 1100 Banyan LLC for the approval of the rezoning of the existing Gateway Center from Commercial Plan Development CPD zoning district to the Clear Lake District 25 CLD 25. Sub-district of the Downtown Master Plan. The motion is based upon the testimony presented at the hearing, along with the application submitted in the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. The board hereby makes finding of fact that each of the applicable criteria in section 94-32 of the City of West Palm Beach zoning and land development regulations have been met. In addition, this recommendation is made subject to the condition of approval contained in the staff report dated November 18, 2025. I move that this condition is necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the zoning and land development regulations and consistency with the comprehensive plan of the City of West Palm Beach.
I do want to make a clarification on the staff report. The actual condition did not read the way that I presented today. The correct condition is the way that I presented it today.
Okay. All right, we have a motion. Have we a second? Motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you so much. That then brings us then to, let's see, code revision cases. 2514.
Exciting.
Ms. Van. This is city initiated. Okay, now we got the public all worked up.
Wow.
Bring in building security. What's what we can do?
Leave the controversial stuff for the end.
What are you gonna do with this huge crowd?
I don't know what they did with it. I think when she closed it out, it actually closed it out.
Did you tell
It's
everybody
just
that?
not your day, Angela. You didn't
Always
have your
be prepared.
report because you couldn't. your
Always be
computer
prepared.
working?
Keep it
Can't
on you.
This thing working?
Did you tell everybody this was going to be heard tomorrow?
No, you always keep your flash
Here we
drive.
go. She's back.
Okay. Record Angela Van, Assistant Development Services Director. As stated, this is a city-initiated request for a text amendment to the zoning and land development regulations to replace the certificate of use with the zoning use certificate as a method that the city used to grant approvals for a businesses. Certificate of use is currently what we use to regulate activities conducted within the city. COU allows us to approve and actually revoke the use of a business, because remember, business tax is just a business tax, just a tax to operate. So all the regulations and requirements for businesses goes with the currently right now certificate of use. It goes with that. But they also right now, the problem we're running into right now, there are certain uses that are exempt from having to obtain a certificate of use. These are some of the professions that are regulated by the state, and some of the ones that also are regulated, again, mostly by the state, and some things of the city that do not require it. And so right now we have no means of regulating these businesses, i.e. similar to what we talked about with mobile vendors. We have no way to regulate them right now. So we're going to change to a zoning use certificate, which will give the city the ability to review all businesses operating in the city. At this point, there will be no exemptions. Everybody will have to obtain a zoning use certificate to operate a business within the city. So this request is just changing the references from a certificate of use, which is basically to a zoning use certificate in the zoning regulations, and a companion amendment to the city code, which will have most of the regulations in it, will be taken to the city commission concurrently with this case. It's just amending, taking the COU that's mentioned in the zoning code and change to a zoning use certificate. Staff recommends approval of Code Revision Case 2514 based on the findings that the proposed amendment complies with all amendment standards found in Section 9432 of the Zoning and Land Development Regulations. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Angela, can you give us some examples? You mentioned the mobile food truck of other business presently that are not subject to this?
They're like some of the professional licensing requirements. I'm trying to remember some of the attorneys. They get a business tax. They don't get a certificate of use.
Yeah, we already get those.
Yeah. Some of that, professional offices like that. So again, you talk difference between you getting a business tax for the office and actually getting a certificate of use. That's the difference right now. Some of those uses by state statute and the prior practice of the city are not required to get a certificate of use. So technically, zoning doesn't even see them per se. So we don't see stuff like that. And I didn't bring out the whole uses basically. It's in the city code actually. It's a whole list of uses. Mostly certificate of use are used to regulate more retail businesses. Retail type of businesses is basically what's outlined in the city code.
Okay. Any questions?
I have a question. Are current businesses grandfathered into?
Yes, this will basically what the stipulation would say in the ordinance when I take it to the commissions. That we carry it forward from this point forth. Then when we do renewal in September.
No. So if you're renewing,
Let me finish.
all right.
When we do renewal, renewal in September, when we send the renewal sent out, which is sent out pretty soon, they will be sent out a business tax and a zoning use certificate to pay. But yes, if they have a certificate of use right now, they would basically be changed over to a zoning use certificate.
So there's no reapplication or?
No. Well, this is only for new uses.
Interesting.
Only for new uses. If you come in now and apply, well, not now until I get the code changed, but if you come in now and apply, you'll be applying for a zoning use certificate once this is changed, not a certificate of use.
So for example, I'm a sole practitioner. I have 2 city licenses, one for my law firm and one for me as an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Would I have another one now?
No.
Okay, I thought 2 for one person.
So
seems
all
sufficient.
this is doing is the same process. It's not changing the process. It's the same process anybody would go through right now. If anybody actually looks at that piece of paper you get, it actually says it's the business tax, and under the bottom of the business tax, it says COU.
Okay.
So all we're doing right now is taking that COU and change it to ZUC.
So is this basically circumventing state law so that there's a workaround for regulation?
Not necessarily circumventing per se. It just allows us to basically regulate them. I mean, an office is an office. We're not going. Most offices go anywhere.
Right.
But it allow, and in the future, if our state legislature gets rid of business tax, again, it's still a way that the city can actually have some regulations for businesses in the city.
Okay, was the legislative intent of the state in enacting the current regulations to not have municipalities have authority over certain businesses?
I don't, from my research, it didn't say it was legislative. It was saying certain regulating agencies basically said that they don't want to take authority to regulate lawyers or regulate architects, and technically the city can't, municipalities can't do that. So it's not necessarily, it's not state statute per se, and if I said that,
Right.
So it's not that. And the city also has, from our law department, it also said in the past that certain uses based on that were not required to get a certificate of use. I don't know the history of it. I'm just trying to understand it so I can get to that point. And again, it was all brought to light when we when the state actually did put some stuff in for mobile vendors, and in fact, right now, we have no mechanism to regulate them at all.
Then a half of the state.
He's got to apply for a third one. Comedy club.
You mentioned architects. So as professions that were previously exempt, will they now be required to apply for a license?
No, what we're going to do is those who are, if you have a business tax, you're just going to continue to operate. It's only for a new business. If you come in
If
for a
you have
new
new
business within the
business.
city, the ones professions that were exempt, basically, when you get your renewal, you're going to see the business tax for your business, and you're going to see the zoning use certificate on that. So basically, you're allowed to use as long as you continue to operate.
Uh-huh. And what is the cost of that certificate to the
Right now, $20.
$20? Ah,
Dollars. So I have a question for you. Will the change to this help with intensity of use issues that are happening around the city, where properties that were previously one use, and because they're not doing any structural changes or et cetera, so for instance, a self-storage facility now becomes a retail shop or retail. Does this help with regulating the intensity of a business use in certain locations in the city?
No.
No.
Basically, because that is another provision in the zoning code, and that's something we've debated and the commission has debated, that allows the active reuse of buildings. Today, right now, you can go into one that was built as a furniture
Warehouse.
store.
Yeah.
And you can put a restaurant.
Yep.
Of course, everything built in the 50s and the 40s. Well, basically, when they really have, depending on cars, doesn't have any parking, doesn't have any of that.
Time's up.
So the city has debated that. Do we take that provision away? But then what do you do with redevelopment? Because you can't meet our code today.
Yep.
So we've gone back and forth trying to do some alternatives so that we can alleviate, and the main issue is parking. I mean, the main issue is parking, and people trying to park somewhere that we find.
Okay,
And
so
we
there's
have
no alternate agenda
No.
to this other than,
they get a,
now, you do mention certain things in here about bed and breakfasts and pharmacies and things like that.
they won't change that requirement. It's just basically try certificate of use. Like a bed and breakfast today, they still may be required to get a Class B. Some of the uses that still get a Class B still has to go through the process.
Yep.
It's just only a means that we technically use. If we approve it, that gives us the means to revoke it. If you violate certain requirements, you have 3 or more police call, you'd be a nuisance business and stuff like that. Remember, we can't revoke a business tax, but we can revoke a zoning use certificate or certificate of use.
That actually,
That's in the code today. I'm not changing it. It's all in the code today, just changing the
so,
name.
I mean, I guess the question is that are businesses given an opportunity to remedy?
Oh, yes. I mean, yes, it goes to the whole
I mean, if I
thing.
own a business and
Hypothetically.
there were, well, I own a business,
I know,
but
I'm joking.
if I owned a business that there were 3 fights outside of my business that had nothing to do with my business and the police were called 3 times, how would that, could I have my license, my zoning use revoked?
No, I mean, basically, it's a process. Again, I'm not changing. This is what's in the code today, so I'm not changing anything of that. But again, I can't say that. It's on a case-by-case basis. At first, you have to go to the special magistrate to determine what's a nuisance. I mean, it's a whole process you got to go through. It's just not me saying or somebody saying this is that. It's a whole process. Special magistrate actually is the one that the evidence determines whether it's a nuisance or not. City just can't automatically take anything away. Has to go to the special magistrate, who has the authority to do it, but we can't by ourselves.
All right. Any other questions of staff? Concerns? If not, we'll look for a motion, I know.
Ready?
Yes. Oh, Gene, you're going to move?
Oh, I'll move to deny.
I would second that.
Tough room. Anyone like to make a motion either way?
I thought he was going to do it.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
Where's the motion to deny?
Go ahead.
From the back?
You were making a motion to approve or deny?
To approve.
Any board member can
Okay.
make any motion they wish.
I move that the Planning Board recommend to the City Commission approval of Code Revision Case Number 25-14, a city-initiated request for text amendments to the Zoning and Land Development Regulations, Chapter 94, Article 4, Downtown Master Plan, Urban Regulations, Article 9, Permitted Uses, Uses Permitted with Extra Requirements, and Special Uses, Article 16, Regulations of Nonconformities, and Article 19, Definitions to replace the Certificate of Use with the Zoning Use Certificate. The motion is based upon the testimony presented at the hearing, along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent, substantial evidence. The Planning Board hereby makes findings of fact that the application complies with the required standards in Section 94-32 of the City of West Palm Beach Zoning and Land Development Regulations.
Okay, we have a motion. Have we a second?
Second.
A motion and second. Further discussion?
Like, you know, you brought up an interesting point, and is, you know, was the state legislature.
It's not the state. Please hear me wrong.
that,
It's not the state. The legislature didn't do, it's not state law per se.
Right, the state legislated something, and now this is coming up as a way for the city to regulate past the intent of the state legislature.
That's not
right?
the
Well, the
intent.
state agencies
So
saying
it's
they
state
don't want
agencies,
to.
so we're talking about, not statute, but we're talking about,
It's regulation.
regulation, right?
And
So,
they-
which is the same, along the same lines.
But the state refuses to take a position on it, essentially is what she's saying. The state refuses to weigh in
Not necessarily.
because they don't want it to be regulated.
Well, it is being regulated. Well,
They don't want the things that they would be.
Microphone, yours.
so we're talking administrative code versus statute. So, what we're referencing is governed by administrative code, which is just as binding as statute. So it's just not codified in law, it's codified with administrative regulations. And the question is whether or not it was written or legislated in such a way to have that outcome, and that whether or not we're circumventing that. That was my question. But yeah, whether it's state statute or administrative code, it's the same binding effect.
I see the value in it, but I also see the potential for overstep.
Right.
And for people who have already invested in a business and, you know, infrastructure and improvements, et cetera, to somehow lose that use of their business at some point in the future. Can somebody's business tax certificate be revoked?
Business tax can never be revoked, just a tax. Today, a certificate of use can be revoked, yes. So it's like 10 requirements in the city code that you have to meet to be revoked. And again, it's not up to the city per se. It's a special magistrate has the authority to revoke the business tax and or certificate of use. It's not the city staff, it's the actual special magistrate who does that.
But currently, there are certain professions that can't happen to because they don't have the requirement of the certificate
Correct.
in the first place.
Correct.
But the zoning use certificate will,
Would make that effective.
right.
I mean,
So I'm not-
most of those professional offices, now, if they're gonna do something where they need to get their certificate of use revoked, then they need to get it revoked. You're talking about professional offices, which, you know, in the city, those are the main uses that are on there, and they just added recently the mobile vendor, but other than that, those are the ones in the city that where the code is written today. But I mean, if they're gonna do something and get their license revoked, then, I'm sorry, to meet those criteria, then they probably need to get their certificate of use revoked. I mean, those are basically no.
I suppose the question is, and I'm not sensitive to these issues you're raising, what happens if there's a use that isn't good? And does the city have the power to stop it? You know, and that's without any kind of regulation, they could not.
We have tangible I need an example. I need a real
Put an
life.
attorney out of a business or something.
I need a real life example.
Don't mention us, we have too many
Yeah,
examples of that. But there's state people who usually shut us down first. But he's asking a fair question. Give us an example in your mind of a good use of why you want to have certificate of use for, say, a professional who's not subject to it now, what would be the benefit of the city besides revenue of
But the main thing is not necessarily the revenue, the benefit. Right now, and the main thing that started is with mobile vendors. And I'm gonna be honest with you. That's
who,
the
I'm
main,
sorry?
mobile vendors.
What?
The
Mobile vendors was the main thing that started this whole conversation.
Right.
Because right now, when this is the state legislature, when they changed to give the authority back to them, which is Department of Hotels and Restaurant, who regulates them now, they took the municipalities out of there. Right now, I have no mechanism, no way, even though the code still has requirements. The code has requirements where mobile vendors, what you can't do. It's like 8 requirements that are in the city code.
Yeah.
Because they took the mechanism that zoning uses away right now, I have no way to regulate them. We've gone through the city attorney, it's been 2 years back and forth, trying to figure out, could we go out and do something zoning-wise? I have no mechanism because the way the code is written today. It's not, I'm not trying to reach out and go after the other businesses. It's like that. It has nothing really to do with that. But I needed to, I'm not going to fix it for just one business. I'm going to fix the whole entire system and basically go to zoning use. We've been talking about this for 5 years. You go to the system and get rid of certificate of uses and go to zoning use because of that. So it's not necessarily somebody we're going after. It started with the business with mobile vendors because right now the city has no authority. We have nothing right now to regulate them, so they can go up anywhere they want to go up. We can regulate the flags and stuff they put out, but other than that, there's nothing I can do about them.
And I
So
think
that's how this
that
all
makes
started.
sense, what you're saying in that case. That does make perfect sense. But I think a mobile vendor is very different from a professionally licensed individual who's
But I can't-
providing services.
I can't separate. How you want me to do a section for this one and a section for that one? What I'm doing is I'm taking the system that we currently have, and the attorneys have looked at this quite thoroughly, and the attorneys actually wanted us to do this years ago, to get rid of certificate of use and do this years ago. When mobile vendors came around, we kind of pushed it to the forefront to do that. So it's not like I'm doing 2 businesses, okay, you don't have to do it, or 2 businesses here. I'm taking the whole complete system the way it is today, and it's taking all of those uses, shifting it over to certificate, zoning use certificate. That's it, the current regulation, the current rules. Yeah, some uses right now that were exempt based on the way the code is written, the city code, it's not even zoning code, where the city code is written today, yeah, they would now be subject to it if they stop operating, or if a new one came in.
Why can't you maintain those exemptions?
Because they're exempt from certificate of use. Now, I can ask the attorneys what the way it was explained to me is some was actually done by the city, and some was done by the administrative code, like he talked about it. Well, that's just the way it's written today, and I don't understand why. I mean, maybe it's just me, and I'm trying to understand why, because you're basically talking about professional offices, and we're not taking, if you're in the office is allowed in all of our zoning districts, not quite understanding what that issue would be. But again, all I'm trying to do is take what we have in the code today, and I need to change it over to affect the one use, and I'm not going to have 8 different systems. I'm going to have one system, one way that we regulate everything. And that's because of it. Because if I do that, I'll be back to the, so that's the way we want to do it. I mean, if you guys want to, and I'll note your objections, and city attorney have looked at this again, and this was actually their recommendation years ago for us to do this. So, but if I will note your disagreement and what your issues are in the city commission, but.
All right, well, right now we have a pending motion, we have a second, so we need to take a vote on it.
Just one
Okay, for the
clarifying
discussion.
question.
Go ahead, yeah.
So when you're looking at this, the zoning code is the Bible, so to speak, of how these are issued, right? So if you're permitted by right in a particular area, there's no reason why it would be withheld, right?
Correct.
If you're permitted with exception, then you'd have to go through potentially, a
So right
special
now,
use
I don't even
variance
see,
or something like
I
that.
don't even see an office use. I don't
Sorry?
see it. For like a professional office, we don't see them in zoning. They come in, pay their money for a business tax, and they leave. Right now, I do not see them, which is not a big, we don't see them. So right now, they just come in because they're not required to get a certificate. They're required to get a business tax, like everybody's taxed to operate in the city.
So what additional information would a business owner have to provide?
It's the same process. It's nothing, we're changing nothing. Well, if a new attorney come in, basically it's the same, actually it's the same application. You fill out the same information you do now, you provide your same license you do now, and basically all we do, look at it, business tax, zoning use certificate, okay, fine, business office, fine. Business
And
tax.
is it
and it's just
$20 per
yeah,
certificate
and it's just
flat
printed
across the
two,
city?
Yeah, it's flat. You get two separate permits right now. You get a business tax to be printed for you to go on your wall, and you get a zoning use certificate to go on your wall, because we're totally, based on legal, they totally want to separate the two, because a business tax should be by itself. It's just a tax to operate, whereas even the certificate of use under the old one should not be combined with actually the business tax. You get two taxes. You get one for your business tax, one for your zoning use certificate.
First, I think current businesses shouldn't even get charged for that additional zoning certificate. But going back to my prior question about a specific example, how would you apply this change in the rule to a business that's non-compliant or giving the city issues? Would you cite the business as being unkept and then use that as a zoning?
That's a code enforcement issue.
Excuse me?
It's a code enforcement issue. If they unkept, don't keep their site up, and that's the code enforcement.
Right, so that's how you would tag that particular business in terms
No,
of.
that's separate. We just
Tell me
code out.
how this helps. How would you address some of the issues, or how would the city address some of the issues that are confronting it today with some of these mobile vendors? What does this change actually do? What can you do? What kind of teeth do you have now? What will this help? How will this fix the issue? Give me a tangible example.
I'm not understanding I don't have a.
Mobile vendors.
With the mobile vendors.
Right now, the mobile vendors right now, as we had the discussion, you guys didn't agree with the overnight, but basically, it would allow us right now to go in and say, okay, take the sign can't go here. You got to move every night, because it's what the code says. You have to be 10 feet from the property line based on fire code. You have to do this and that. So you have requirements that you have to do now that I would not have some teeth to say, you still have to, I can't tell you how to regulate what's on your truck. I can't tell you how to cook, how to do different things that are deferred to the state, but I can tell you where you can go. You can't park in the parking lot. You can't park in required parking. You can't park in a handicap spot. Certain things that now I can go tell them that they can't do that. Right now, I can't, because I have nothing to enforce it with. Except even if I cited them today, I have nothing I can enforce them with. So
this allows you to enforce that by giving something with teeth that you can claw back their
it's the same day today. Yeah, with the uses today, almost the 5% offices as opposed to the 95% that we do regulate, those are the uses that right now today, it's the same process. I'm not changing the process. It's the same process. And when everybody renews every year, you still pay a certificate. Right now, you pay a certificate of use on your renewal. I'm not changing it. It's the exact same process. You pay it, you probably some minimum, you just pay it and don't look at it, but it's on that. So you're paying the same. Nothing's really changing, just allowing moving from A to B, and basically the main use that allows me to regulate will allow me to regulate mobile vendors. Everything else will be the same.
All right, and who else, what other municipality is doing this?
Town of Lake, doing this?
Yeah.
It means going from, most municipalities, some of them have zoning use, some of them have certificate. I didn't do an analysis to say which is which, because again, my city attorney.
Who are we mimicking, or is this
I'm not mimicking anybody. My city attorney told me to do this almost 5-6 years ago, because they said we need to separate it. We need to get rid of certificate of use and separate it out. Honest with you, we just been so busy, it wasn't a priority for us until the state changed that with mobile vendors. Other than that, probably still would have been the same way, to be honest with you.
All right. It seems like we're inviting litigation. All right.
All right, we still have a pending motion. Any further discussion before we take a vote on Deborah's motion? Okay, we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Why don't we do a count? I'll just say
Aye.
Aye.
No.
No?
No.
Shoot.
Don't really matter. He's going to pass the commission anyway.
I'll say yes.
And I'm voting yes as well, so we'll pass 4-2.
And could you please tell me for commission, so I can make sure I get clear your objection to changing it, to changing the name only, changing the name and there's a couple of uses that we're gonna do, the 5%, so I can make sure commission understands? They don't know.
Say it again?
What's the reason for the
Well, I
no?
like to, when
She
we
would
do a
like to get
denial vote,
input from
people
you,
don't
so when she goes-
recommend a
for me-
disapproval.
I don't
For
think
me
it's-
as a business owner, I think I pay enough taxes and fees to the city. So adding another one, even though it's only $20,
No, the fees are
is-
changing now, you know that,
Huh?
right? It's the same fee. You pay it every year. You
Yeah,
get a
but you
renewal,
don't
you pay
have
the
any
same
fees, what
you're
fee
saying.
every year.
so my business tax will decrease and I'll pay it to the zoning instead?
If you look on your business tax today,
Uh-huh.
it says business tax, and you got a second line, certificate of use. It's always on there, and the price is right there. You pay, you probably don't even pay attention, but you do pay certificate of use today, and that's not changing. Only change is the name, the fee's not changing.
Because what he's presently paying now, it won't change, is what you're saying under the new system.
Say it again?
It will not change what he's presently paying now.
Yeah, will not change. We get his renewal certificate. When you get your renewal in a couple of, you may have gotten already. Couple
Yeah, I
of
already
months.
paid it.
So you've already paid. So you paid that to $20. You paid it. You probably didn't look at it. You paid it.
Okay.
So does that
All
make
right.
you feel
Yeah,
better?
yeah, I would
Make you
change.
wanna change your vote
I'd
even?
go yes.
Okay.
My thing is, I don't want to put more tax and more fees
I understand,
on
but she's saying it's
businesses
unchanged.
because then,
Gene, does that
once
make
you
you feel better
implement
or
the
worse?
tax.
No,
they
but
can
because
But that's not
even
what it was
though we're casting a wide net, I think we're still targeting certain businesses that are either regulated by the administrative code or by statute that have. I don't know what I need to know what the legislative intent is, and so I would need more information. And I think because we're having issues with certain businesses, there have to be other remedies in order. Like if somebody has an unkept environment, we can't do any.
would have code enforcement.
Yeah, but
So
that's-
before today, before this vote, you would still have code enforcement. To her point about people parking in
still gonna have
handicap
code
spot, you would still be able to have the police give them tickets.
Right.
It
So
wouldn't-
then
it
I don't
wouldn't-
understand why they need
No.
more teeth.
Tough room.
They won't give them tickets.
You can't have police give tickets for handicap spots?
It's a little more complicated than that.
Okay.
I just
But-
don't have enough information.
Yeah, the police
to-
don't, yeah, they do more on street stuff
We
if
have
you're in the
the-
right of way, but it's a little more complicated than that.
Gotcha.
Pass 4-2, and even though you may change your mind, that's.
Just tell the
still
commission to run the tape
All
out.
right, we're gonna move on.
Just tell the commission to run the tape out.
Yeah.
Okay, no, we have elections for officers. Presently, I serve as chair, Peter serves as vice chair. We serve at the board's pleasure. This is an election again, so we're looking for nominations first for board chair.
Move that we retain the same chair and vice chair.
Second.
Are there any other, you can self-nominate. Does anyone else wish to be? Sam, do
You
you
said
want
one
us,
at a
you said
time.
that we should do
We
these
get a pay-
separately?
do we get a pay
Yes.
increase?
Okay, we'll do these separately if you don't mind.
All right.
So right now for chair, we have a motion and we had a second. Does anyone else wish to, anyone else wish to nominate? You could self-nominate, as I said. And if not?
I'd like to close the floor and see.
All right, we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. All right, vice chair.
I move that we retain Mr. Peter as vice chair.
Have we a motion? Have we a second?
Oh, second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Any other nominations? If
As
not,
long as it doesn't interfere with bingo.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. That brings us to unfinished business, new business. We stand adjourned. Do you hate our board, Angela, because of all the hassles we give you?
And we were 3 minutes over the hour.